So when I say how many you say weren't filmed, how many?
Weren't filmed.
How many?
Weren't filmed.
How many?
Weren't filmed.
How many?
Weren't filmed.
So right here in the Twin Cities, we have a lot of people that have been killed
Listen.
that weren't filmed. But we also have people who were killed and the film was destroyed. Right, we have cell phone videos that have been taken and lost. All kinds of evidence that has been planted.
Bullshit.
Families that have been abducted. Witnesses that have been abducted and held against their will. Children separated from their adult parent, even after having witnessed an execution by the police. So my nephew Marcus Golden was executed by St. Paul police officers Jeremy Doverspike and Dan Peck in 2015. He was sitting in the back of a parking lot, and a white man who did not know him called in and said, "There's a man sitting back here. I don't like it." The operator was asking, "Well, do you know who he is?" He's like, "No." And then he said, "Well, is he armed?" He's like, "I don't know." The operator says, "Well, if he had a gun, where would it be?" He's like, "I don't know." So one of the officers slipped on some ice. They arrived without being notified, without notifying the department. They didn't have their lights on, they said, so their car wouldn't record anything. And one of the officers slipped on ice and his gun went off. So the other officer began to shoot. And then both of them began to shoot. Marcus was shot in the back of his head in his vehicle and in the back of his arm.
Terrible.
So they made up several stories and it came out like 3 days later. It took them so long to give the public any type of response that former Minneapolis Police Chief Anthony Boza went on the news and even said, "This is ridiculous. It doesn't take this long to make a statement. The family and the public deserve to know what happened." And so Paul Paulos, the spokesperson for the St. Paul Police Department, came out with a series of lies and stories that have changed over time. But he was not armed when he was killed. It took them 11 hours to find a gun in an SUV, saying that there was some trash on the floor. They're saying that they located the gun in the passenger floor. 11 hours later, 11 hours after Detective Sheila Lambie raided his room with a permit to find a gun he legally owned. She also staged his room and put that photo in the cover of the St. Paul Pioneer Press, saying that he was suicidal and then it was suicide by cop. Okay?
Wow.
That's all of it. I mean, all of it is BS, and there's a lot more to it. But that's just some of the inner workings of the devious routes that police take to cover up police homicides and executions. And every single family here has experienced something, one of those things that I talked about. And it's disgraceful. So the work that I do is because I don't want other families to experience what my family went through. And it's important to give back. And I'm thankful for all the support that my family received after Marcus was killed. In spite of the news reports, people were able to see through it, and I was so thankful because I have not seen anyone demonized as much as my nephew was, that was killed here. And the fabrications and the lies, and lies that I said something, lies that my sister said something. So these are very serious situations that go beyond that immediate trauma of the death. And with those lies, it makes it difficult for families to find attorneys to get any type of justice. Right, so this is why they want to continue to hold on to evidence when they have it. They want to get rid of evidence, and they should be releasing body cam footage immediately.
Yes.
Because we know when it's the individual who's involved is supposedly guilty, they release that. They don't hold on to it. They release it. Right? So we need consequences for film and footage that has been manipulated, and we see that happening. Audio is being manipulated. And these are all various things that just add further injury upon the initial damage that is done by the police who are celebrated, sometimes get awards and move on with their careers, go home to their families. So we know that the police are not going to break the thin blue line, and that's why it's important that we continue to be out here and fight for justice, to fight for the families. And I want to thank Toussaint so much for having an event.
Yes.
How many were filmed?
Yes.
Thank you, Toussaint. You have been doing great work in the movement, and I really appreciate you. And I appreciate the sentiment here, because sometimes, you know, families can feel like their loved one is forgotten about or left behind. So it's just important that we remember those who maybe didn't get as much attention as others. But I'm just so thankful for the people and the organizations in the group that have supported me in the work that I do. And it's nothing that one person can do alone. It truly takes a village, and this community here is a village, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And I'm proud to be here with all of you. And I thank you so much for taking the time on a 90-degree day to be here and staying in support of the family. Thank you.